Hello and welcome to another edition of What Does the Giraffe Say Media with me, Kathleen Ratorne. We're an organisation that aims to connect people in social media by holding live interviews about conservation efforts around the world. Today, I am extremely happy to be joined once again by Adams Cassinga from Conserv Congo. I understand he's pulled over at the side of the road to have this conversation with us, so I really appreciate you taking the time to do so. So for those who may not have seen the show the first time around when we first had you on and we were discussing different issues then, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how Conserv Congo came about?
Thank you very much, Kathleen, for being again on the show. It's really a pleasure. It's almost like a responsibility for us to be here so that we can share our work with your listeners. Well, my name is Adams Cassinga, like you said. I am the founder and director for Conserv Congo. Conserv Congo is a local nonprofit based in Kinshasa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We have been in existence for almost 10 years now, and our objectives are to fight the scourge of poaching as well as wildlife trafficking. In the meantime, we also do conservation through education with a special focus on youngsters between the ages of 12 and 18. But also we do encourage the local communities to partake and to venture into agriculture because we believe it could be an option to poaching, but also it's something that could ensure food security. We have been working on almost 6,000 plus cases now pertaining to wildlife trafficking. Unfortunately, only about 10% of that has gone through prosecution. We have made many seizures. I think this year we made a very big seizure of ivory, being one of the biggest and largest on the continent in Lubumbashi. It was 2 tons. And we also made another seizure for about 4 tons of pangolin scales in May. That is just part of the work that we do. The situation is pretty bad, but we are trying to fight as locals because this is our natural heritage and we cannot expect somebody else to take the fall. We do need help and assistance here and there, but I think it is a responsibility for us to take the front. And that's how myself and the team, we tackle wildlife trafficking heads on, and that's where we are right now.
And that's one of the things I like about yourself and the organization is you actually switched careers, didn't you, to change into conservation, to try and make a difference, to try and protect the heritage for your country. What made you what was the trigger for that for you?
I don't know, it's very weird. Yes, indeed, I did change careers to be where I am today. In my younger days, I was an investigative journalist. But then after an incident where I got shot 3 times, I had to get into mining. And I was in mining for almost 6 years. I was an expatriate having worked in Central and West Africa. It is one of those top jobs as an executive in a mining firm in Africa for a young African man. It is like the top that you can go to. But then there are other responsibilities which go beyond what can meet the eye. And for me, being in conservation today, it's not by mistake. It may have started as a mistake, but I feel like this is where God wanted me to serve his people. And I'm not just serving God's people, but I'm also serving humanity and my country in particular. And that's what we love about our work.
Yeah, you're doing an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you so much. And one of the reasons I wanted to get you back on the show is I know there's been an incident that's been quite high profile at the minute, which has kind of shocked internationally what's been going on. It's kind of game changed how wildlife crime has been previously to how it's kind of moved into. Before we go into that a little bit deeper, we're talking about the 3 chimpanzees that were unfortunately kidnapped from a sanctuary in the DRC. Now, initially, what's even more heartbreaking about this story is that 2 of those chimpanzees were ones that you guys had actually rescued initially and brought to that sanctuary. Can you tell us a little bit about how you rescued them initially, and then we'll kind of go deeper into the picture of what's happened so far. But how did you find these two chimpanzees, and kind of, it was a long process for them to get to the sanctuary, going over land on different transports. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, it is a very catastrophic situation which has happened to us. And I guess in most people here who work in conservation, this is the first time we've ever heard of a case like this. And most unfortunately, two of these three babies who were being kidnapped from a sanctuary were initially rescued by Conserv Congo in and around Kinshasa. I can speak particularly about Hussein. Hussein actually carries the name of one of our investigators who was on the front lines on that day. And Hussein was picked from a lodge far away outside of Kinshasa. And he was being exposed so that people can take selfies with him for a fee, of course. And it took us about 4 days of hard work, day and night, to even get there and rescue this animal. Some of us have really lived with them. We understand them. We know them. If they were human beings, they can tell you our names. And after rescuing them, it does not end there. We need to involve government protocols. There is a lot of paperwork to be filled in. We need to get a vet so that they can check them up and see if they carry any diseases. It's really a huge work behind all of this. And on top of that, we need to take them from where they were rescued from to our place of transit. From the place of transit, we need to ship them to Lubumbashi, which is a 2-hour flight on a cargo plane. So these, as it is, these animals that we save are like survivors. And when we think that we have given them a second shot at life in a very secure place such as J.A.C.K, and we hear that other people have come there to take them, it really shatters our hearts. It shocks us to the core. And of course, there is the second chimp, which we rescued from a trafficker's den, where she was chained in the neck, and she was being given marijuana to cope with the situation. And just like we did with the first one, we rescued her and we sent her to Lubumbashi, where we know there are people who are able to give them love and affection and the treatment that they deserve amongst their own, because even though we love them, they are not our kind. They need to mingle with their relatives who look exactly like them. I think they'll be much more comfortable. But now it's hectic, really, to hear that other people have got the guts to go there and kidnap them.
And as I understand it, you're quite involved with the sanctuary and the situation. Do you have an understanding of how it actually happened and where we're at now?
Yes, from what I gather, it was on a Thursday night. It's been almost 3 weeks since they were kidnapped, and intruders came to the sanctuary. Nobody knows how they got access there, and they proceeded to force locks. They entered in there, and they took the 3 chimps. And the reason why they probably picked on the younger ones is because they cannot fight back. Yeah. They picked them and they put them in the vehicle and left. And just within hours, J.A.C.K management started receiving phone calls, threatening phone calls. And immediately they demanded a ransom, a very colossal ransom. From what I gather, is hundreds of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And as I mean, you might have a better perspective on this, but from what I've understood from working in previous wildlife crimes, it's often encouraged. So, for example, if you see someone selling a monkey on the side of the road, they say don't buy it because it fuels the trade. Is that the same kind of situation? Like if they pay this ransom, then you're kind of encouraging others to then go out and do this again, or keep coming back? What's your thoughts on this?
First of all, we cannot pay the ransom because the money is too much. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even good traffickers who sell these animals, they cannot sell them for that money. So that is number one. And number two, if we start paying money, we are enforcing trafficking. In fact, tomorrow they will not kidnap 3; they will kidnap the entire sanctuary. So, based on ethical grounds, we cannot pay that ransom. And I think people who love these animals understand why we cannot. First of all, we cannot afford. And I don't think there is any structure out there which is willing to pay hundreds of thousands of US dollars just so we can have these animals back. Otherwise, we'll be sending a message to criminals that if you kidnap this animal, we shall give you money.
Yeah. And it's such a heartbreaking situation, isn't it? Because these chimpanzees have already been through so much. I've seen some pretty horrible videos on Twitter that show the chimpanzees still alive, but in very poor conditions. And now they're being used, as we say, as a pawn in the game to earn more money. You mentioned earlier, this hasn't been seen before. This is completely unprecedented. What do you think has suddenly caused this for this? It's I don't want to say brave because it's almost giving them, like, making them sound like they're good, but it's like they're going above levels they've gone before to get money. Is there some desperation that's causing this? What's the situation on the ground?
Yeah, at this stage, we cannot really get into the mind of the criminal and guess what is going through their mind. But yeah, definitely there is some sort of desperation there. At the same time, there is a factor which is more personal. When somebody goes and kidnaps an animal, it's because they know somewhere, somehow, there is an attachment between that animal with a human being. And they are trying to capitalize on that so they can get what they want. But also, it could be a situation where somebody wants to inflict pain and grief on somebody they don't like. Because if this was just for the money, I think they should have been at least reasonable with the amount of money they're asking for. But when you look at the amount of money they are asking for, it's a huge amount of money. So it's more or less like saying, I know you will not have this money so that you can suffer longer. Right. However, this is a criminal act, and there is no reasonable reason one can give to back it up. And therefore, these are criminals, and once we catch them, because I know we will, we shall deal with them accordingly.
If anyone can do it, you guys can do it. I know you've got a fantastic track record. When you catch them, not if, when you catch them, what kind of punishment could you expect from the government? Will the government take it seriously? Do you think that it's going to be something that, like, could set an example to show others that this is not an okay thing to do?
If there is anybody who deserves the maximum punishment, I think it's these guys. These are people who have been brave enough to go and attack the most vulnerable of the remaining little wildlife that we still have. And therefore, they have put themselves into a situation where they have multiple counts. It's no longer just wildlife trafficking. Now there is theft, there is robbery, there is kidnapping, and on and on and on and on. So I really expect that beyond the 10 years that is provisioned by the law, I think they could actually get another 20 or 30 years on top of that.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope we can set an example, because it's truly shocking. I mean, we're kind of used to stories, unfortunately, about ivory, pangolin, rhino horn. It's been going on for a very long time. This has kind of been a very unusual twist in the narrative. We have a question coming through from Stacey. Hi, Stacey. She's a regular watcher of the show, and I know she's a huge chimpanzee lover. She's absolutely devastated by what's happened. And she said she realizes you cannot say much as this is an ongoing situation. What are the chances that the babies will get returned?
Well, we cannot really speculate on that. Otherwise, we're going to put our head on the chopping block. All we can do is try our level best to capture the kidnappers and see if we can rescue these animals. Our thoughts are really with them, and we hope they are still fine. From what I gather, a few days ago, J.A.C.K management received a proof of live video, and the animals seem to be still alive and in good health. They probably are very much stressed, being in a habitat that they're not used to. They probably are not being fed well, but we still have hope. Until the last minute, we'll not give up. If we give up, we'll be giving up on them, which we cannot.
And how can people support your efforts to help you to continue to do the work that you're doing?
Yes, as Conserv Congo, there is always a way to help us. The biggest way is to get in touch with us. We are very much present on social media. On Twitter, we are at Conserv C. On Facebook, we are Conserv Congo. Conserv is written with CONSERV, and Congo is a country, CONGO. So once you get in touch with us, we can be able to tell you how you can go about to support us financially. But also at the same time, so there's a capital C on the first C of Conserve. And the last C as well is capital C. Of course, there are multiple ways of supporting us, such as spreading the word about the work that we do, sharing our posts, telling people about conservation in the Congo. That is also part of supporting us. We also welcome volunteers who would be willing to come and assist us in any way, be it in a technical or in any other way that they can.
So you mentioned the use of volunteers, and I think a lot of times people want to support, might not be able to financially, but would love to be able to do so. So is there ways for people to do it remotely, either helping you with social media or in terms of helping with websites or finances? And again, what would be the best way for them to go about that?
Yes, like I said, the beginning of everything is to get in touch with us, and then we can have this conversation. But yes, there is a way to support us remotely. There is always work to be done. And if we can get people who are willing to take that burden off our shoulders, we can always share the work for the betterment of all wildlife in the Congo.
And we touched on it right at the start when you was talking about you doing a lot of work with communities and trying to get them to appreciate the natural resources that you have. I mean, it's an absolutely beautiful place. Have you seen a change in attitude towards this? Have you seen people starting to get more involved in wanting to protect wildlife, wanting to work alongside you guys? What kind of things have you been seeing here on the ground?
Yes, we have seen a lot of shifts. We have realized that there is a lot of deterrence locally. Most people are now aware. People who were not aware before are now aware that there are animals which are totally protected and that these animals represent a national heritage for all of us. We have also realized that mainly children are spreading words amongst themselves, which is a beautiful thing because that's the future. And we have also seen a little decline in exportation of wildlife from the Congo compared to 2019, where we were topping all the charts globally with wildlife trafficking across the world. 3 years down the line, we have taken at least a second or third position. And that's a positive thing.
It is a positive thing. And I think we're seeing this globally as well. The next generation seem to be taking the natural resources a lot more seriously than, unfortunately, our generation and the ones before us did, and starting to really appreciate that, you know, this is desperate times and we need to really look after the environment and the wildlife that we have in it. I saw a tweet that you put out a couple of days ago, maybe a week or so ago. If you're not following Adams on Twitter, you can also follow him alongside the Conserv Congo Twitter account. It's very active and gives you great insight into the sort of things that he's been covering and seeing. And in it, you mentioned that rhino horn, and even though you don't have rhino in the DRC, it's a big place of rhino horn coming into. What's the situation behind that? Is that because it's moving across country into Asia, or how does that work?
You must understand that the strategic geopolitical positioning that the DRC has in Africa works to the advantage of traffickers. So literally, the DRC links West Africa to East Africa. It links Southern Africa to North Africa. We are the second largest country in Africa with 9 borders. We are the only country in Africa with 9 borders. And these borders are quite long, that most of them are porous. So anything can come in and out as they please. And coupled with corruption and lawlessness, the DRC is the ideal place to transact. Whether it is in blood minerals or blood wildlife, the DRC is the place. And like I said earlier, even though we do not have a single rhino alive, we have more rhino contraband than any other country which has rhinos alive. Because being tracked from Southern African countries, all the criminals immediately they harvest that, they want to run as far away as quickly as possible. And when they come to the DRC, they blend in. There is also a number of expatriates who are seeking after such commodities, and they are having huge amounts of money. So they pay in cash, and everybody gets whatever they can. But at the same time, we are still behind them, and that's how we know. And we hope they don't know that we know, because we need them to be where they belong.
Sorry, Adams, that was me. Unmute your mic. That was my fault. So Adams, sorry, that was completely my fault. So I was saying to you, you used to be a journalist, and you mentioned you stopped because you got shot 3 times. But I feel like you haven't really moved into a much safer career in the role that you're in. Do you ever get nervous in the job that you're in?
Yeah, I know it's a dangerous work. Unfortunately, we ventured into this knowing fully all the dangers. We ventured into this because not many people would want to be in this position. Unfortunately, there is work to be done, and somebody has got to do it. And who else is going to do it if we can't do it for ourselves? How do we expect somebody else to come and die for our country, for our natural heritage, if we cannot show a good example? And I always think that the strongest battles are always for the strongest warriors. And we're going to take the bull by its horns and see how it goes. But you must remember that we're not alone. We have the authorities of our countries working with us. We have got some international partners giving us support, assisting us where we cannot. And that is a good thing. So it's not just us, it's a team effort. And we appreciate everyone who is with us on this.
Thank you so much, Adams. Honestly, you guys do an incredible job, and I'm so grateful for you to take the time out to talk with us. I know you're incredibly busy. You're doing some amazing work. As I say, please do follow these guys on social media, and you'll just see what an incredible job they're doing. It's a lot of hard work. It's not a lot of reward, but they keep pushing. They keep going for the love of their country and for the love of their wildlife and for the love of their people. Adams, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to say before we say goodbye?
There is not much that I would like to say, except that for this particular case, I'm sending this message to anybody, especially anybody living in the Congo. And even if you live outside of the Congo, if you happen to hear something, please say something. If you know anything at all, please feel free to contact us or contact the authorities and let them know. We need these babies back where they belong. We know they don't belong there. And we've saved them once. We don't mind saving them 2 or 3 times if that's the case, maybe. And we thank you so much for listening to us. And we also thank you, Kathleen, for inviting us once again so we can share our story with your audience. Thank you so much.
It's an absolute pleasure, Adams. It's always so lovely to have you on. Unfortunately, this time it was very difficult circumstances, but I have every faith that you will find them, and hopefully the babies get returned to their rightful place. Thank you, everyone who's been watching back home, and for your support and comments. Adams, you've got a lot of people behind you cheering you on and all wishing for the safe return. So thank you so much. But for now, all that's left for me to say is enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for supporting conservation work. Enjoy your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.